I don't think this video needs any more introductions. My wildcard is active. Let's discuss. But before we get started, you guys should know the drill by now. Make sure you guys leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and listen, let me explain. Because I think anyone that's watched, let's say, my content over the last couple weeks has probably said that I've been leaning towards free hit 33 rather than wildcard 32. That strategy. So what's changed and why have I activated my wildcard? I think the best place to start is probably my Gameweek 32 team without my wildcard. You guys can see it. The team doesn't look horrible, but does it look ideal? The answer to that question is also no. I've got Verbruggen in goal before, obviously, my wildcard against Burnley away. A lot of people who are wildcarding, including myself, are going to have Verbruggen in. Gabriel, you're going to be fine with. Timber is where one of my biggest issues becomes. Because obviously Timber's a doubt for the Bournemouth game. Ben White started right back in the Champions League game. Do we know if Timber's going to be back? The answer to that question is probably no, because we know how Arteta is with press conferences. Virgil van Dijk against Fulham at home is not the best of fixtures, let's be honest. Liverpool haven't looked good, especially coming off the 2-0 defeat to a PSG in the Champions League. We probably do assume there will be some rotation, not a lot, because obviously Liverpool still have to get Champions League football for next year. But again, it's not a position I'm happy with. Then it comes to the midfield. Dango Atara is obviously, you can argue, maybe a small issue, but again, playing against Everton at home is not the end of the world. James Garner, we know, ticks over nicely with Defcon. Bruno Fernandes, everyone's fine with that pick. Harry Wilson against Liverpool away can cause damage. Thiago, I think he scored a hat-trick in the reverse fixture against Everton. Ekatike, does he start against Fulham? Does he not? I'm not too sure. And then obviously Erling Haaland against Chelsea away. So listen, my Gameweek 32 team is not the end of the world. Like, does it outscore a wildcard team? Maybe. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But one of the, let's say, things that I've seen a lot of people say is that your Gameweek 32 team will definitely outscore your wildcard team. I don't think that's the case, and I'll explain why. And listen, I'm going to show you guys my wildcard, and I'm also going to show you guys why I hit the button. Let's start with how my current wildcard team is looking like. I'll probably say at least 12 names are fully locked in before the deadline, and I'll discuss who they are, so no one's surprised when I release the transfer plan video on Sunday. But my team currently is Verbruggen in goal against Burnley away. I'm very, very happy with that. Obviously, doubles next week. Darlow, same thing. Leeds double next week in 33. I'm going to start with Gabriel. Now, I know a lot of people might disagree with having Gabriel in your wildcard. I personally think this is the correct move for my team. Of course, I released a wildcard video earlier. Yesterday, I didn't have Gabriel. If you want to optimize maybe on the doubles, maybe don't have Gabriel. But for my current situation with only one free transfer and the fixtures after 35, I'm going to start with Gabriel. I know next week in Game Week 33, when I'm going to pay my bench boost, Gabriel has Manchester City, which is not the best of fixtures, especially away from home. But in that sort of game, do I think Gabriel has a good chance of getting Defcon? Yes. So we're saying his floor is then 4 points. Can also keep a clean sheet. They're the best defense in the world. Of course they can. On top of that, let's be honest. If Arsenal draw, that game against Manchester City is pretty much like a win for them. Because Manchester City have to win that game for the title race. Arsenal, if they get a draw, is a phenomenal result for them. So I can see Arsenal setting up very, very defensively, meaning a 0-0 result is probably something that, let's say, Arteta is almost aiming for. So I'm not mad at having Gabriel on my bench boost next week. Nico O'Reilly is someone I've wanted to have for such a long period of time. I just haven't had the transfers to get him in. We know he's going to be great. Whatever position, left back, midfield, I can't wait to own Nico O'Reilly. And this game against Chelsea away, it's not a bad fixture. Chelsea are not the best defensively, especially without Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Fernandez is so important for Chelsea in terms of their team, let's say, structure as a whole, especially for bigger games, so vital. So the fact that he's missing is not, again, ideal. And then we come on to Van Hecke, who has Burnley away again. But Brighton have a decent chance of keeping a clean sheet. If we're looking at clean sheet odds this week, Brighton have a 34% chance. Arsenal have a 39% chance. But again, and Manchester United have a 36% chance. But other than that, we're not really favouring clean sheets for this week. Which is why, when you look at this defence, does it outscore my current non-wildcard team? I think there's a good chance that this team could outscore it. So listen, we're saying the defenses are pretty much equal. My defense could outscore it. Who knows? But anyway, that's how my defense is looking like on my wildcard. Let me show you my midfield. Now, the midfield, I think 3 or 4 names on a wildcard pick themselves. Semenyo, I don't think I have to spend much time talking about. He's going to play for Manchester City. We know he's pretty much there in the first choice starting 11, but at the same time, you never know with Pep. But the last couple of games with City have still changed, let's say, the system up with Cherky playing in the 10. Semenyo, even though he's playing out wide, he still is going to get opportunities to score goals, so he's going to be in. Bruno Fernandes, I don't have to say anything. I know some people might go without him and just maximize the amount of doublers next week. I wouldn't do it. Bruno Fernandes has Chelsea next week. I still expect and think Bruno Fernandes can do enough damage, which is why I'm going to have him in. Hinchwood is also in. Now, this is a very, very tough one. This third Brighton spot. I've got no Hinchwood for now. That's because he's starting number 10 for Brighton. His average position is very, very high. He's getting himself into very, very good opportunities. And his non-penalty XG has been relatively high over the last 6 game weeks. But there is a big but. The person that I really want to go with, and I think has the highest upside for Brighton, is Diego Gomez. We know earlier on in the season in the League Cup, there was a game where he scored 4 goals. He arrives very, very well late to the box in terms of like his box rushing abilities. And I believe against Burnley and in the double against Chelsea and Tottenham, he could do a lot of damage. But the problem is 9 yellow cards. Now, is there a chance where Fabio Hertzler maybe thinks, let me not play Diego Gomez against Burnley, get over the game week 30, or the 32, let's say, threshold, and then play both in the double? Of course. But then I'm also missing a Burnley away fixture, which obviously we want to target this fixture, which is why I have a triple Brighton, especially for this Burnley game. Which is why I'm leaning towards against Diego Gomez. Pascal Gross, I just don't think he's entertaining enough. It's probably the safe pick in terms of he might get the odd DEFCON. There's a chance he could have some penalty share if Danny Welbeck is not on the pitch, but I'm not feeling it. And then Matoma, again, he's obviously been, let's say, slowly integrated back into the side since he's come back from injuries, played some games. Is he in Brighton's best 11? Of course, but I don't know, man. I still think there's a chance that Diego Gomez could start one side, Minte the other, and then Matoma might get reduced minutes, or that's a scenario which could happen in a game, for example. So I'm leaning towards against Matoma, and I keep coming back to Hinchwood. So Hinchwood is in my team. Cole Palmer speaks for itself. Manchester City at home. Not the best of fixtures, but again, doubles in 33. I don't have to discuss anymore. And then the bench, by the way. I forgot to discuss the defenders on the bench in the previous section. But I've gone with double Bournemouth defense with Senesi and Hill. I know some people might go with a Leeds defender, which I think is a very, very valid argument. But I've gone with double Bournemouth just because Leeds have had a couple injuries in terms of Beagle is a doubt for this game. I expect him to play though. Rodon is out until May. Same thing with Anton Stack. So they are kind of missing the spine of the team to an extent, which is why do I really want to go with Leeds? And listen, Leeds are still in a relegation battle. They still got a lot to play for, which is a positive. But Bournemouth defenders just have such a high floor in terms of Hill and Senesi consistently hitting DEFCON. They're almost starting off 4 points and working their way either up or down. So I think I'm going to go with a double Bournemouth defense with Senesi and Hill. And then becomes the other midfielder. And I am going to go with Tavernier. Now, you guys know, I've owned Tavernier the last couple of weeks. Very, very frustrating. How he hasn't got me returns, I don't know. But I'm going to go with Tavernier. I'm still going to trust him in terms of he still has some penalty share, which he obviously share with Krupi, depending on who's on the pitch. And he's getting 90 minutes. So I'm leaning towards Tavernier, and that is how my midfield is currently looking like on my wildcard. And now onto the attack. I think this 2 of the 3 names pick themselves. The third name, again, is the one that a lot of people are deciding between. I've gone with Erling Haaland. He's back in form for Manchester City after that hat-trick against Liverpool. I want him in. João Pedro. Now, I'm going to start with João Pedro. I've seen some people start with Bowen and then maybe switch out to João Pedro. I just don't see the need for that, especially with 1 free transfer for my team. I'm going to start with João Pedro. Manchester City at home. Listen, Chelsea can score goals, but again, City are favourites. Let's see how that game goes. And then I'm going to go with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, I'm still kind of, let's say, unsure on this. This is one of the positions that I say is not fully locked. Because obviously the conversation is DCL or Danny Welbeck. Danny Welbeck obviously has the better fixture in Gameweek 32 with Burnley away. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin has Manchester United away, which is not ideal. But the problem, the thing that leads me towards Calvert-Lewin is, first of all, the day rest is better. The rest between games is better for Leeds than it is for Brighton. Which means the chances that I have of Dominic Calvert-Lewin starting both games for me is higher than Danny Welbeck. Then the question becomes, both of them pretty much, let's say, will have penalties to an extent. Even though Danny Welbeck has Burnley this week, in game week 35, I believe it is, after the free hit, Leeds also do have Burnley. So we still have that Burnley fixture for at least both of them to target, which is why I'll just go with the expected minutes to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. The only thing, again, that's kind of drawing me back is Leeds also have an FA Cup semi-final. So even if, let's say, the turnover for the Brighton games is not the best, Danny Welbeck is almost going to get a 2 weeks rest or at least 10 to 11 days rest after the second game in the double before the next game, which means, listen, even though we haven't really seen him start 2 games within a week, there's a good possibility that Danny Welbeck does, which means he could be a very, very good option, but I'm still going to lean towards Dominic Calvert-Lewin. On a wildcard, let me talk you through my locks. Verbruggen is the lock. I think Gabriel is a lock. O'Reilly is a lock. Semenyo, Bruno, Palmer, Tavernier, Senesi is a lock. And then João Pedro, Haaland, Darlow are also locks. And then it's kind of, let's say, the fringe plays that I'm deciding between in terms of, do I go with maybe a Leeds defender or do I go with double Bournemouth, etc. But I think this is kind of the spine of my wildcard that I keep running back to. And listen, a lot of people might not like it. A lot of people might say my, let's say, current team is stronger. But I think there's also a good possibility that my wildcard team could obviously outscore my team or my normal team in 32. There's also one more thing that I wanted to talk about. And that was, a lot of people have spoke about how, let's say if you free hit next week, or actually, let me break it down like this. If you're wildcarding in 32, people expect your normal team to outscore your wildcard 32 team, which is fine. A lot of people then expect in game week 33, your let's say bench boost to outscore a lot of people's free hit team. Which, listen, if you don't wildcard this week, you're probably going to play your free hit next week. In game week 34 is a week that I don't think a lot of people are speaking about, where I'm obviously going to be playing my free hit now in game week 34. A game week 34 team could, if it does well, outscore a normal, let's say, 34 team by quite a lot. If you get the plays right. If, for example, Tottenham players start hitting form under De Zerbi, there could be a couple nice differentials. Maybe you want to go with, I know this is going to be unpopular right now, but a Mo Salah against Crystal Palace. The chances that a free hit 33 team outscores my bench used 33 team is not going to be high. So the gains could also be made in 34, which I don't think enough people are talking about regarding the free hit. Obviously, game week 35 onwards is where it becomes a bit more difficult for me. I'm going to have probably 2 free transfers at that point, which is why I decided to start with Gabriel now, because I know I want an Arsenal defender going into that run from 35 to 38. And also, we have to remember, Crystal Palace, Manchester City is going to double in game week 36 more than likely, which is when I'm going to play my triple captain on Erling Haaland. But more importantly, I currently don't have any Crystal Palace plays, so I'm going to have to use my transfers up to that point in 36 to bring in Crystal Palace plays. And then 37, 38, obviously 2 free transfers at that point, probably to hopefully bring in 1 or 2 differentials for the last games of the season. But that is my team. I've hit the button. This is my wildcard team. Let me know what you think. I know a lot of people, like I said before, are not going to agree with it. Maybe I should have stuck with the strategy that I was leaning towards the most. But I think with 4 chips left, this is probably the best way that I think I can optimize it for my team and transfer situation. Like I said, I really, really like the free hit 33, wildcard 35, bench boost 36, etc. chip strategy. But I think the way a couple of injuries with Timber have fallen, I think I'm leaning towards this chip strategy for now. And anyway, I've hit the button. It is what it is. Hopefully it goes well. Let me know what you think. It is what it is at the end of the day. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts on my team.